must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Fellow Africans, since 1957, when Ghana gained independence, there has been quite a lot of political, social, economic indicators on the African continent that show that Africa has progressed from pre-independence Africa to post-independence Africa.
Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. From now on, there is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs.
66 years down the road, Africa finds itself with the first country, Ghana, having gained independence. We find ourselves still locked up, controlled, manipulated, instructed, logistically supplied, equipped by foreign powers that dictate our agenda. Africa is endowed with plenty of minerals, resources, good weather. The climate is so favorable for the growth of food enough to sustain us. But we find ourselves in countries where hunger is killing people. Hunger is killing people because most of the people have taken to arms to fight wars, conflicts. Starvation has taken the place of development. In most African countries like Sudan, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Nigeria, in Biafra, and north of Nigeria there is Boko Haram, Somalia in the Horn of East Africa. We have taken to conflict instead of development. Development was the key indicator. When Kwame Nkrumah made the first speech that seek ye African political unity, economic development will come automatically, he was right. The events happening in Libya today vindicates Nkrumah, vindicates Nyerere, Sekou Toure, and Nasser, the founding fathers of our Pan-Africanism. The events happening in Central African Republic, in Congo, today as the war of rebels ranges on between the rebel and the rebels and the government and the government, and the rebels vindicates the founding fathers of this revolution. Our independence, therefore, was only on paper. Our independence, therefore, was only in symbols. Our independence also was in signs. Our independence also was in boundaries. That we received our flags, but we never received full independence as by the word independence. Most of the 3/4 of African countries, French-speaking countries, have their budgets being done in Paris. Is that independence? The Paris government or the French government does its budgets based on how much they will get from African countries. Is that independence? Is this the Africa that you want? Is it the Africa that we must look at Is this the Africa that we shall leave for the future generation? If the answer to you is yes, then so be it. But if the answer is no, you agree with me that this is not the Africa we want to live for the future generation. Our generations and the future generation need to find a legacy. What is the legacy that Africa and African Union will leave for the future generation? The wars ranging. Good evening, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi. Thank you very much for that clip. And I want to thank my production team. We now switch on to People's Courts. People's Court, not People's Courts. With me in the studio, we missed this topic this morning because of disruptions of logistics of this place. But we are now live with a new program called the People's Court. The People's Court looks at important, aspects of what has happened on African continent. And before I do any introduction, an intro, I would like to welcome my co-host or hostess. Co-hostess or co-host?
Co-host is okay.
It's better, yes. The hostess marks things not very good, makes it murky.
Good evening. We do not want to.
Good evening, Miriam.
Yes.
I left when things were hot this morning. I think today's topic would have been hard. I was ready to punch some people this morning, especially Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, and the rest, and the court. But this afternoon, or this evening, I want to be very honest to say there is something wrong. There is something going on in Africa. And we must stand to it and say it as it is. We must accept that there is money that has been pumped in Africa, which is being sent from George Soros accounts to destabilize Africa. We must accept the truth, the reality, that this money is doing rounds in Africa. We must also accept that the money is targeting opposition, disgruntled members of the community, and also civil societies that are against the government of the republics in Africa. It is therefore our duty, our cardinal duty as Africans, to look at why is George Soros so much interested. If you look at most of the countries that we shall pick on to look at, Miriam, you will see that there is something wrong with these countries. Something is going wrong completely. This afternoon, I will pick on a country called South Africa. And that I have now received, don't ask me how, but I am an investigative journalist who knows how to get my information. Today, I have received a full transaction, money transaction, that goes into South Africa from George Soros accounts in the in New York. The money is paid through Paris and other organizations, and the banks in Paris transmit this money to various African countries, where NGOs either from South Africa pick the money and it is sent into the populace of South Africa. South Africa has got over 1,900 NGOs. Out of these NGOs, 7 of them receive money from George Soros. I am interested in the few that touch a lot about governance, because you have NGOs that deal with ticks, cow ticks. We wouldn't like to know about that, but surely in Africa, which cows have ticks that you need to give somebody money to walk around to train people about ticks. So I'm looking at NGOs. The worst thing of it, Miriam, is these NGOs, these people actually degrade as Africans. There's an NGO that looks after you comb your hair, how to comb your hair, how to dress up, how to do your tie, how to walk, how to laugh, to make love. Those are the type of NGOs that I have seen. Sex worker education and advocacy task force in South Africa, accountable monitor, sex work, Sisonke National Movement, social audit network hosted by International Budget Partnership, Social Change Assistance Trust, Social Surveys Institute, Sonke Genda, SOS Support Public Broadcasting Coalition. You know, we are in trouble in Africa, actually. The things that are being said, Miriam, that are being said on us are not there.
So those NGOs, are they supported by George Soros?
Yes.
Wow. How many are they?
There are 64.
Okay.
From South Africa, the notable ones that involve about governance.
That's a lot.
That can change, that can make a revolution, that can call people to come to streets of Johannesburg, of Tripoli, or of Cape Town, of any of those towns. This is evidence. And I can read the amounts of money that each, for example, Human Sciences Research Council, 2 million rands. Ikuleko South African Media Scorpio Daily Maverick, 1.7 million euros. Rands. Institute of Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies, 650,000 rands in 12 months. Land and Accountability Research, Lawyers for Human Rights, 2 million rands. Land and Accountability, 2 million rands. Legal Resource Center, 1.5 million. Market Photo Workshop, 2.45 million rands. Media Monitoring Africa, you see? Media Monitoring Africa. Someone is seated in New York.
Because it has been said that he sort of works with the media to drive his agenda,
yes,
especially in Europe. And
so he pays,
doing that in Africa.
Thank you. He pays 1.850 million. Don't worry, the Kenyan one is coming. Go. The Kenyan one is coming, how much you get. And don't worry about that. I am all right. It's good as long as the money is coming to help. I am on against the money going to build houses in Irunda and Karen for the officials. But now, as an activist of Africa, I am querying so many things. Open Democracy Advice Center, 900 Nelson Mandela Foundation. Yes, it's a genuine cause, maybe. They get George Soros pays for our Nelson Mandela Foundation 3.5 million rands. Open Secrets, what is it? Open Secrets, this is something to do with love. Those people who don't know what love is. And Open Secrets, stealing secrets either from the bedroom. You know, I saw yesterday some MPs complaining that Raila is in Uhuru's bedroom. So I don't know whether Ruto was also in the bedroom. I don't know which bedroom was it.
That must be a very big bedroom to fit all of these people.
All of them.
But
yeah,
so Open Secret, is it a foundation or what? What does it do?
It's an NGO in South Africa. It teaches you how to be loved.
Okay.
You know, there are some men who don't know how to approach ladies.
So George Soros is doing that. He's
Yeah.
helping
So let's go. Hosted by Platform for Protected Whistleblowers. I think that one is not bad. Whistleblowers like Matsanga. If I were in South Africa, I would be protected.
I thought you were going to say Githongo.
Gisongo. But I'm also a whistleblower.
Yes.
You saw me on ICC. I became a whistleblower.
And on African Union.
Yes. And out of LGBT well-being. What?
The LGBT community.
1 million rands.
Of course, that he has to give a lot of money.
Yes, to pay for condoms and so many things. Isn't it?
I think, and if you can...
Sexual education. Because LGBT goes with one sex something. Okay. Africa.
Is the gay community.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
We live with them, all of us. In London, we do. So me, I have no problem. Solo City Institute. And then we have Action Aid South Africa, Africa Check, Affairs Complaint, Africa Policing Civilian Oversight Forum. You see that? Those are all political. The ones on first page are political. Amadiba Sid Bonwere Black Stripe Media, Center for Community Justice and Development, Casual Workers Advice Center, 1 million. Association of Universal Legal Institution Trust, 3.9 million.
Casual Workers Advice Center.
Yes. Now, 3.9 million for legal aid institutions in the university. You can know why. You know why?
For legal aid institutions.
Because you are talking about students here who will go for demonstrations. Then you can capture, you can foot their bills. And then there is one health news service, 1.5. Then there is a ground up, is 900,000. There is a corruption watch, the one that has brought Mr. Zuma to chaos, 1.650.
Then they must be working if they brought Zuma to accountability.
So, in a nutshell,
yes,
there you are. This is proof to the world and to my fellow Africans that it is true. George Soros is sponsoring several African countries to dismember themselves. Is his money keeping us disquiet, keeping us busy, quarreling amongst ourselves? Who has eaten more, who has eaten less? If you look at the Uganda politics, this morning you were talking about Bob Wine.
yes,
Bob Wine he has stood his ground, but who sponsors Bob Wine? It's George Soros. Part of the legal team of George Soros is the one that he has taken Uganda to higher heights when Bob Wine was arrested. So you can see that every opposition group in Africa
yes,
is keeping itself looking at that. Kenya,
because it's mostly to the
the
left.
confusion that we see in Kenya today, if you read these newspapers, look at some people. I've been given a draft report on Kenya. It's going to shock you. Before the end of this week, and most likely Monday, I will table the Kenyan paper,
Dossier.
showing how much and which is coming from George Soros, so that people don't say, I always talk and talk and talk. I want to tell you, here we are, South Africa, bank to bank.
So
What
many.
I've removed here for privacy case, so that I don't injure my contact, is to make sure that I don't show the bank accounts where the money entered. But this is the money. And why I have stuck on South Africa. In 2016, I met South African ministers. We stayed in the same place called Radisson Blue in Ethiopia. We had a drink, and while we were talking, I told them that South Africa is the bedrock of George Soros. The generals and others were asking, what are you talking about? I said, South Africa's economy depends on George Soros' money. Because this is a huge money pumped into on a yearly basis. They did not understand. I want to thank yesterday one of the honorable ministers in South Africa picked a phone and said, "You're a great man of Africa. You told us this. We have now finally taken 3 years to discover the truth about this money that has been pumped in." I was telling people the other day that Malema could be part of George Soros.
Sponsoring.
Now you can see for yourself. Because for me, Miriam, I told the truth, and I want to stand by the truth. George Soros, as you will ask questions, leaked documents of billionaire George Soros in his NGO showed that how George Soros, and more specifically the Open Society Foundation, have bankrolled many institutions in the world.
Yes.
Can someone tell me why George Soros is an American? America has got banking institutions. Why does George Soros bank his money in Paris? Because Paris accepts his doctrine. Paris is also here tormenting French West African speaking countries. French speaking countries are on it a few days ago. They said they have now got a common currency to run away from the French franc, which they were using. So there is a problem. And when I talk like this, I want my fellow Africans to know that I talk like this because I want to make sure that in the future you don't have the difficulties that you have today. I want to talk like this because I want to stand firm. I want to be registered on record. I want to be part and a parcel of the dispensation. I want to be a part of Africa, the Africa that changes. I'm there going, then. I want to give you a few of your time, your minutes, so that you can contribute and ask me questions of what you feel about George Soros.
But also I think you've mentioned the 2016 leaked documents of the billionaire George Soros that, the Open Society Foundation, his NGO, sort of influenced politicians, media organizations, financial institutions, and funds civil society groups and their activities, and ultimately topple governments. So this seems to be his agenda, not just because in Europe people are very wary of him, and even in the US, because it is said that the last elections, he was the highest funder for Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
So for that reason, they don't like him very much over there, and he's been working to actually bring change, and he supports anything that goes against, even the US values and things like that. So in Africa, what would he benefit by? What does he want exactly in Africa?
I think Africa, he wants just to. He's also a businessman, very shrewd.
So he's looking for opportunities.
Opportunities in oil, in banking.
In mining. Okay.
Let's talk about Kenya here. I know who in Kenya. You see, if you can watch the climate in Kenya at the moment, it's George Soros. Way back in 2018, George Soros, executive director, came to Kenya. He arrived here with a delegation that was seen by my friend Makau Mutua. They went to Mombasa. You heard that report. They stayed in Mombasa. They met several groups. They came to Nairobi. They also met another senior government official. I raised the red flag that there is something wrong for George Soros, executive director of Open Society Foundation, to come into East Africa. I raised the flag because I knew that there is always a problem wherever George Soros people move. I raised the flag because there was a tendency, and that's why I love President Uhuru Kenyatta for having checked quickly to make sure that the handshake takes position. I raised the flag because several factors like those of South Africa, which I had researched on, showed that George Soros funds any chaos. He doesn't care which chaos. He doesn't care whether the chaos is negative or positive. He funds it. As long as he hates that a government, he will fund it. He will fund the chaos. And that is what has happened in Africa. I knew about the Sudan. I told you about Chad. In Jamena, headquarters, where people left money, had money, which has been supporting the demonstrators in Sudan. If the photographs can pick some of these things, our production team, you will see the demonstrators in Japan, in Khartoum. In Uganda, George Soros Open Society Foundation has picked several people. Most of the leaders of opposition in Uganda pick money from George Soros or subordinates or from access, another axis of George Soros somewhere. George Soros is the owner of ICC. He contributes about 30% of his money to the ICC. And the rest is contributed by France. France pays for salaries. Salaries of the judge, the porter, the prosecutor. You can see the link between France. You can see how many of French-speaking countries are in turmoil. Because the end game of what they gain is money. They make money. George Soros went to Russia and made money. When the Communist Party collapsed, they needed Coca-Cola, they needed sugar, he poured in this Coca-Cola. He made his money from Russia. I think you have read. That's why the Russian government has a warrant on him. If they find him near the Russian border, they will pick him and take him.
And even French, I think there's a time they had a warrant on him.
Yes, at that time, the president there
for money laundering, yes.
Yes, did not agree with him because he was washing money in France. So this is a man who can distribute money for any cause. You can see the talk of we are coming to the streets. We are coming. We are preparing 1 million march. These are signs of George Soros. And I am just telling my people here, the security agencies, the government, to watch. Boniface Mwangi does not hide. He says he works with George Soros. So these are some of the things that we think can help in our discussion which we have conducted. Yes, Miriam.
Yes, indeed. And also George Soros-backed NGOs and foundations is alleged to have been working on behalf of opposition figures in the DRC, especially Moise Katumbi.
Yes. Moise Katumbi is a very rich man.
Yes.
And George Soros works with rich men. He doesn't work with we people who are like poverty, who are poor, whose bank accounts are always in red.
Yes.
He only works with people who either will steal diamonds, like a Katumbi comes from Katanga province,
yes,
where diamonds and gold are sold at the main activity, economic activity of the region of the Congo. So there is no surprise that he supported Katumbi anyway.
So anyway, so during that time, of course, when he was the mayor of Katanga, Moise Katumbi, he was involved in a lot of corruption, and corruption led him to face some conviction. And instead of defending himself, that's when he decided to run away. And since then, it is said that Soros really wanted to help Katumbi topple the government of former President Joseph Kabila.
It is true. It is true. And when you look at the events at the moment, in most of African countries, look at them. Nigeria. By the way, did I predict it correct? You saw yesterday. Obasanjo said. Obasanjo came out and said there's genocide. There's going to be genocide in Nigeria.
Yes, I saw that article, yes.
Mr. Obasanjo, you are not alone. Mr. Obasanjo I want you to know you are with, I was there. I warned people about this genocide in Nigeria. I warned the people about the killings in Nigeria. I warned people about the murder, the torture of younger men in Nigeria because they are Biafrans. I've warned this, and the killings are going to begin. I am telling you the genocide that is going to take place. I agree with General Obasanjo that if the world, if AU does not come in to help, there is a genocide.
And also to add on the massacre that is also going on with that terrorist group in
Boko Haram.
In Boko Haram, yes, in Nigeria.
So these are some of the things that we, as an institution, we bring to your notice. It is up to you people to know what can be done and what can be said. It is up to you people to understand the difficulties that each institution takes. It is up to you people in Africa to know that we are in danger. The danger of George Soros, the NGOs, the example of South Africa, which is very clear under here, where documents show huge amounts of money by one group, Open Society Foundation.
There's a lot of NGOs being supported by one person.
It is sad and very sad.
It should be worrying, actually. It should be worrying for that. And of course, he's widely mentioned in the chaos that are happening right now in Zimbabwe.
Yes. The Zimbabwean issue is George Soros. George Soros supports Jeffrey Smith. George Soros supports Johnny Carson's. George Soros supports Kofi Annan Foundation. Kofi Annan Foundation, Kofi Annan is dead, but the foundation works. So when you look at the money that he pours in these foundations, the foundations that have surrounded Zimbabwe, the foundations that steal tapes, you saw the tape of Zimbabwe, which is making rounds about the first lady fighting an army general. So you can see that. Who is doing that? Jonathan Moyo. Who pays him? Who pays his rent? Who pays his tickets? It's George Soros. So our African countries must be very, very worried. Especially the countries where elections are going to be conducted. I am telling you, I bet you better get worried. You better put your act together. So with those few words, unless you have something else.
Now, also, I think when you were mentioning that, the list from South Africa, you mentioned about some media staff monitoring stuff
yes.
there. And he's been known to work with the media to advance his agenda, especially even during that time, Greek had a financial problem.
These papers of ours, George Soros bought them. 2007, all the papers, George Soros bought them through Rainberger. They bought them. I had to come back here and stand firm in the middle and say, no, this is George Soros' money. There was no editor in Kenya in 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009 who could write anything good about the Ocampo 6. They were demonized. They were called names. They were told they should go and rot. I know of editors who openly picked money from George Soros. I have a list up to today. You know me and the records. I am very good at keeping them. So it is very sad. It's a very serious matter that the money that is pumped in here is now covertly or overtly. It comes in both format of George Soros.
All right. Our viewers, thank you so much. I can see you writing in Bismarck Bura. You're saying they're spreading, let me see that. They're spreading their tentacles into our affairs so that they can easily cause disabilities in our countries while we battle ourselves. Our resources get siphoned out and we stay poor economically. So that is just a part of conversation here. Bismarck Bura, thank you so much, has written to us. So, Yes, and you also continue to say, had they sealed up all gates of entrance for these aliens, nothing could have happened. Africans should follow Asian footsteps in order to be fully independent. Is this George Soros doing it on personal basis or on behalf of the Western world? Even the Western world don't really love him so much. And as you can see, the 2016 leaked documents of George Soros, not only was a lot of that found that he was planning to topple governments in Africa, but a lot of them in Europe especially. And so they're very wary of him. So there you go.
I just want to take this opportunity to announce that there will be a meeting of African Solidarity, International Solidarity Group, meeting in Abidjan, in Accra,
Ghana.
between 17th and the 20th of August. This meeting will be very much accessed by all revolutionary groups who have been called. So there you are. I am getting out the details. They seem not to be coming the way I want.
All right. Jemwok Otho, thank you so much for joining. Have you been able to access the details, Doctor? You're working on it. Peter Nokam, you're saying, Dr. Matanga, more grace to you and your crew members. Ufa Noxin, thank you. You said you're watching us all the way from United States. Is it? I think you said that. No, it's Com Magoku. You said you're watching us all the way from San Diego, California. Thank you. And yes, Ufa Noxin, you're watching us from Minnesota, USA, so thank you so much. And the rest of you, we appreciate you tuned in this evening here in Nairobi. It's 5:13 p.m. here in Nairobi, so it's a very good evening. It's a bit sunny, so we're enjoying very good weather here. It's been cold lately.
Yes.
Yes.
In the morning it was very cold.
It was extremely cold, yes.
This meeting will touch in August between 17th and 20th, I think I'm correct. It will touch on Amazonia and other conflict zones in Africa. I'll give you more details tomorrow, but that meeting is there in Accra, the capital city of Ghana. I am not the one inviting, but people who are inviting is Dr. Akanga Ebenezer. Ebenezer Akanga is part of the organizing international solidarity movement of all liberation groups in Africa and the world, wherever they are.
All right.
So that is the situation. I want to take this opportunity now to summarize if you are finished.
I'm done, I think.
Okay, let's take it from there.
Yes.
Are we there? Conflicts in Africa have become the daily occurrence. Daily occurrences in many countries, in the sense that almost every African country, apart from the few, there is tension. One wonders where this tension at times comes from. Some of it comes from elections, a manufactured election, a disputed election results. Some come from territory. Some are terrorist-based, like that of Somalia and Boko Haram. Some are because of regime change, purely sponsored by external forces. But 95 to 96% of conflicts in Africa occur through the sponsorship of external darker forces that would like to benefit out of the spoils of war. George Soros stands as one person who has always been and will always be and shall be until the end a man who sponsors any type of chaos, who does not follow which type of chaos he is sponsoring, as long as it is chaos that can topple a person he hates in Africa. Many African countries are undergoing this pressure, this tension, especially those that are conducting elections and whose timetable for elections seem to be coming in the near future. As a result of that, Africa stands warned, and Africa must stand on alert about the external forces that want to dismember this continent and create heavens of war, create insecurity, create mirage peace that Africans have fought after 66 years of gaining political independence. It is therefore my submission that most African countries, if they don't look at what George Soros is doing, we might have a shocker one morning, one by one African country being pushed out and the leaders being pushed out of power. The events, therefore, in South Africa, as proved from these detailed undercover operations, they prove that George Soros indeed has a say in South African politics. And therefore, we want to urge Africans and African heads of state and their military and intelligence systems to be careful and watch on the amount of money that is being pumped into their economies, because some of the money could be George Soros money that will end up to bring public disorder in most of the African countries. Thank you very much, viewers.
Indeed, a very wonderful presentation there. And let's not water that down. So we see them tomorrow for the Good Morning Africa show. Yes.
Thank you very much, Miriam.
Yes.
You started to do it.
All right.
Tomorrow.
So, yes,
we
indeed.
do it tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much, all of you. And my favorite song. What is the song? The song, I don't know, by the rivers of Babylon.
Somebody's just suggesting here, Jandeling Emmanuel, you're saying, Dr. Matanga, would you do us a favor and play Ambazonian national anthem in one of your shows? It's a great anthem. And yeah,
I will do that. Can you send us the stanza? The first and the second stanzas.
I think we could get it from YouTube, I believe.
You can. We shall get it from YouTube, but send us. We shall play. We shall play Biafra. We shall play everybody.
Yes.
We work for integration of Africa. But in Africa, when other Africans are being squeezed, tortured, maimed, killed, raped, we can't keep quiet and play about it.
Yes,
that's the stand we have taken. God help you. See you tomorrow during
Good Morning Africa show.
Good Morning Africa show.
All right.
Thank you very much, Miriam.
All right.
Peace talks. Yeah.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.